Welcome everyone to episode 4 of Table Talks with the Jackson family. We're happy you're joining us today. Today's topic is centered around all of us doing everything we can to lift others up as we are all climbing. More specifically, we want to talk about how it's so important for us to take a personal responsibility to recruit and to develop and nurture others in the real estate development industry. Urban Equities has done that over the years, so has my wife's company, and so today we look forward to sharing with you some of what we've been able to be guided by in terms of lifting others up as we all climb.
So we've talked about pathways in the last episode and kind of how you guys got from the corporate side of things into the more self-employment, entrepreneurial side of things. And clearly the work had to be done of others lifting you guys to that point where you felt empowered to kind of go out on your own. How did that, who helped you, and how did you
Well, I have to admit, when I came back to Chicago home from New York City, working there, the only way I was able to get into a real estate development company was because I knew somebody. Somebody championed my name, someone advocated on my behalf, and the door opened. And I later learned that required some real risk-taking by the executive who did that on my behalf, because I was the first black development officer of the company. And so as I arrived, I learned that, hey dude, everybody's watching. You got to do a good job. And
you really feel like you're the only one who was kind of brought in. Kind of lifted. Right?
Well, yes and no. Only I say that because in this industry, in the real estate development side, generally speaking, you don't come in unless somebody's there pushing your name.
Right.
Someone is gonna say, I know this person, I want them in.
And that kind of took me a minute to kind of get to that point, because I remember when I was interning at my last company for an internship, real estate development company, one of the talent acquisition people told me that I kind of came in through a non-traditional path. She said that she asked me how my time has been, just given that my mother was able to facilitate and kind of talk to someone she knew at the company to kind of help me get that internship. And it kind of made me feel like I didn't, I was just kind of tossed in it. It kind of took away from the experience.
You felt like an affirmative action candidate.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Right. And really what was at play, clearly at play, as I talked to some of the other interns who I was actually the only black woman, everyone was brought in by someone else. Actually, some of them were related to some of the executives within the company.
Right.
So I wasn't the only one.
And that's a reflection of most institutions, whether it's the workplace or colleges, universities, legacy kids. Somebody's advocating on somebody's behalf.
Absolutely. And I was going to say, I couldn't disagree with you more. I think it was relationship. Life is about relationships, and so a lot of people oftentimes will get their jobs and they will get their opportunities in their lives as a result of somebody knowing somebody, and we know that is real huge in life. And so you getting your opportunity in New York, that internship was clearly, it was an executive that came to the Chicago office, and we got to talking, and he asked where you were going to school, and it turned out that he graduated from the same school, and he was like, "Here's my card. Tell her to."
And that's how it happened. That's how it happened.
Yeah, and thank God you guys paid for that. I can now tap into that alumni base, and really, I have done that. I have cold emailed a lot of people who I've seen on websites, and just trying to figure out who's graduated from Columbia, just to be like, I'm sure we've been in the same spaces.
but the unfortunate part, though, Corinth, is that there's a large segment of people who've been traditionally left out of this industry, the real estate industry. No matter which entry point you're talking about, whether it's real estate development, leasing, management, sales, what have you. There are a lot of people who have been excluded from even being considered to be considered.
Why do you disagree, Mo?
Well, I disagree because for me, I landed in property management. No one spoke up for me. There was no relationship. I ended up there solely because I went there temping.
Right.
So
That's how I met her.
My real estate career evolved from there. So not everybody is, has a relationship and get into the door that way. And I can even remember becoming a property manager at a company where I inherited the staff, and the receptionist, I said to her, and this is my lift as I climb, I'll teach you everything I know. You're young, you need to, advance beyond this position. And so I do agree that we have an obligation to teach others, as we go along.
But it's also an empowerment thing, because you noticed something within her and you were like, this is something that can be lifted, and this is something that we can really try and expand within you, the skill that you have. And you saw that, and it seems like from the way you're telling the story that you were able to get her to another position in terms of her capabilities and her skill set, just by recognizing the potential that she could have.
What I saw was that she was a young lady, she had a son, and that she needed to make a life for herself and her child beyond being a receptionist. And I told her that if she was willing to learn, I would teach her everything I know. And in the end, years later, I recommended her for my job when I decided to leave the company. And she did get it, and she's doing quite well even today. I'm very proud of her because she exceeded my level in property management.
Yeah, so taking on the role of lifting those who are trying to climb, right? I've been able to do that through Urban Equities, right? In fact, today I had lunch with the gentleman, Brian Cunningham, now owns and operates his own real estate brokerage business. He worked at Urban Equities for a minute. Then there's someone by the name of Anita Fowler, now is Anita Smith, who now owns her own general contracting.
I remember Anita.
Yeah, she now has her own general contracting company.
Crazy.
And
that's amazing to be a woman in construction.
Exactly. But the thing of it is, she had to get there first with Urban Equities. And I remember her saying to me after she had come out of the U.S. Army, she said, Lennox, if you give me a chance, I will work hard and I'll show you that I deserve to be here.
Right.
And so that's the thing. We have to be able to give people the chance to show what they can do and grow from there.
Yeah. And I kind of feel like right now, I'm not really in a position to lift others, but I do feel like I'm being lifted. And just from being lifted, it's like, even though I've graduated from a very great school and I'm bringing something to the table, I'm not bringing so much to the table where I'm really like, my value at the company is not quite seen yet because I'm still learning.
Right.
And I know that I'm not an inconvenience on others.
Right.
I'm not an inconvenience on my mentors, but it does I know that there's a lot of energy and effort that goes into lifting someone up.
And to that point, Corinth, as an employer, I struggle with trying to strike that balance between trying to identify or onboard, recruit that young lady or young man who has the desire and the drive, but don't have those hard skills that I need, versus someone who's got the hard skills and the ability to hit the ground running. But the thing that separates them sometimes, those two persons, is the desire, the hunger. Sometimes I'll take that person whose skills are not as proficient yet, but who's really hungry, wants to learn, wants to put in the time and go the distance over the person that can come in right away and hit the ground running. It's a delicate juggling act for a small business like mine because it's a financial matter, right? We got to pay salaries and we got to drive revenue. And sometimes I can only afford to have so many people on the team who can't drive revenue as opposed to their drawing upon revenue.
Yeah, and I know, Mom, for you, like, I remember even working for you before I got the position that I have now. I felt like there were times when I was really drawing on to your energy, and I felt like maybe there might have been a bit more effort at play to kind of teach me. And I think the reason why I felt that, Daddy was talking about more salaries, but your business is commission based. So if you can't eat, I can't eat. So like, I feel like the labor that goes into that doesn't quite, it's not as quite like rewarding, even as a small business. Like, you're saying that it wasn't rewarding for you. It is rewarding for you. It's rewarding for like your soul. Mm-hmm. But in terms of a financial aspect, it doesn't really get to the point where you are, the value is being like clearly shown for a while. It takes a minute to get to that point.
It takes a little time. And so
but it gets more complicated when it's commission.
Yes, right.
It does. The commission is one of those things where it's not immediate gratification. You do have to put the work into it. But in the end, you know, if you put the work into it, at some point you will receive your pay. And, you know, our business is such that, you know, our pay, even though it's deferred, it makes up for that every 2-week paycheck when we finally do get it. I'm mentoring someone right now, and it's, you know, she's very sharp, and as well as yourself, you're sharp.
Thank you.
And she's able to, she's a quick study because she has a degree in business. And it's rewarding to see how she's really gravitating towards the business, how she's able to apply her knowledge and her learning from being in college. And she's like on deal number 5, and she joined my team back in January. So really exciting to be able to assist someone and see them grow.
Yeah.
And I think that we all have to be lifting as we climb. Someone gave me a lift later in property management, allowed me to be a consultant and help him put together a whole marketing team, as well as sit in on hiring a property management, a manager for his property management company for over 275 units that were built in Bronzeville. And he just said, hey, you can do it. I trust you. Here's your retainer. Go set your office up. So he didn't sit there and tell me, but he lifted me by trusting me. Mm-hmm. So there are so many ways to lift as you climb and to be mentored or to mentor someone in business.
So I think it's our responsibility to lift those who are trying to climb.
Absolutely.
I agree.
Thanks everyone for joining us today on episode 4. We've enjoyed having you here. We're hoping that we said something to inspire you to identify someone who you can mentor, to bring into this real estate game and to help them to grow. So in the meantime, we look forward to seeing you on episode 5. Thanks a lot.